Hey, how's it going? It's May 26th, 2026, and last night I watched Toy Story. I noticed a lot of interesting things about this movie that obviously hadn't noticed when I was a kid, and I haven't watched this movie since I was a kid. Um, yeah, the way that I remember this movie is that they're toys, and uh, Woody and Buzz have this partnership, this friendship that sort of very rough and adversarial at first, and then they eventually find their rhythm and connect with each other and become this iconic duo of Woody and Buzz. And um, I mean, it was a fun movie, but I don't remember like thematically how the movie was written super well because I was a kid when I watched it, and so it was really catching my eye this time around because the writing really stood out in a way that Disney writing doesn't stand out to me these days. So I was very pleasantly surprised by it, even though I've already seen the movie. One of the first things that I noticed was that when I watched Woody's dynamic with Andy's toys, especially that opening scene where, gosh, what was happening in the opening scene? He was walking around the bedroom and kind of checking in on all of them and almost like getting status reports from all of them about things that were going on. And then they held this meeting where Woody was on a mic and they were sort of having like a town hall. Like it was very structured, very organized. It felt like I was watching like um, like a scene from a military or like a military movie rather or like a mob movie or something like that. It was just all very like not silly, not goofy. Like things were happening. It was like a well-oiled machine, but they're toys. So you like immediately like right off the bat, I felt like I was watching an adult movie that just happened to be wearing a kid costume, and um, it's really interesting from that perspective because like the um, the term that I've heard is rewatchability of something. The fact that I'm able to come back to this movie, watch it again as an adult, and gain new insights, have new feelings, um, is not something that I can do for um, other Disney movies out there. Just because today I've noticed that the comedic element is more slapsticky and loud, and the it's almost like the louder and more you can scream and act goofy, the more funny your movie is, or the more interesting your movie is. Um, Rather than giving characters like really smart dialogue, like oh my gosh, there were so many interesting lines that pop out to me in this movie, and Tom Hanks and is it Tim Allen? Tim Allen Buzz? Uh, who voices Buzz? Oh yeah, that's right. I wanted to play music while I was doing this review because it's kind of like spurring memory for me of moments of when I watched the movie. So I wanted to try that out. Hopefully, it's not coming across too loud on the camera. I can barely hear it anyway over the sound of my own voice, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, okay, Tim Allen. So yeah, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, their voice acting is top notch in this movie. Um, it's just as good as any live action acting. Uh, they bring so much passion and realism to their characters. Like I genuinely believe that their characters are going through the challenges that they're going through. Um, for Woody, I what I observed is that he is this very effective leader. You almost don't see him miss a beat in the way that he kind of delegates tasks and communicates with his group, and he's just on top of it. But the moment that his power, his position of power is threatened by Buzz, a new toy coming on the scene, all of a sudden he's getting emotional, and he's getting like his ego is bruised, and we see this completely different side of him where now he's like saying irrational and illogical things and is trying to like play mind games with Buzz, whereas before he was so unfazed by anything and telling him just relax, it's just a birthday party, you guys, don't worry about it, everything's gonna be fine. He's so calm, cool, and collected. But like this is his kryptonite. Buzz Lightyear's a new person that threatens his position, and Buzz is, he's got such an interesting story arc going on in and of itself, because his whole thing is he's got this delusion that he is the real Buzz Lightyear, and he has a mission to get. He's almost like R2D2 in New Hope. I didn't notice that before, but he's got these like plans to deliver to what is Buzz Lightyear's group? Star Command? Star Command. He's trying to get him to Star Command. Yeah, it's like R2D2 trying to get the Death Star plans to the Rebel Alliance. But anyway, he's able to do all of these like amazing, fantastic things as a toy, but because he has this sort of like incredible confidence in himself, because he is that guy, he is Buzz Lightyear, and so you have these two different personalities that are now butting heads. They don't get along well with each other. They don't click. They're on such opposite ends of the spectrum. And Buzz is not even concerned with assimilating into Andy's toy group necessarily. He's more concerned with his mission that he believes he has, and that's his plot line. Woody's plot line is, my position of power is challenged. Now there's an imbalance. I have to reset the balance, and so we have this after Buzz is introduced to Andy's toy group. I'm like paranoid that this is not recording. I'm gonna check. Okay, no, we're good. So after Buzz is introduced to Andy's toy group, we have this montage where slowly Woody's power and influence in Andy's life is being stripped away from. Like this is the clever thing about Toy Story, is that we're telling a story about power dynamics, but the power grab is related to the ability to be a child's source of love and joy. It's such a unique pairing of ideas that I've never seen before. And but it works because you're applying this this what if conundrum. Okay, so here's another thing. I developed this rule recently that I'm sure already exists, but I've never seen it before. It's probably not called what I call it, so I call it the what if rule. But I'm sure something like that exists out there that I've just never heard of before. But basically, it's a rule of writing that I've noticed, where you can tell classic relatable themes such as brotherhood or growing up or loss. Like these are all very relatable themes. But then you just apply this what if spin on it. And so I had this thought when I watched Wicked 2, because the theme in that movie is best friends, I think. I don't know. I might not be remembering this correctly, but it was something like best friends, right? And then you take this theme of you have two best friends, but what if one is a princess? And what if one is a witch? And then what if they went to the same school together? And what if this and what if that? And so you just like layer on these little twists, but you never change the underpinning theme. It's still friendship. And what do friends go through? And these two friends fought over a boy, and then they fell apart, and then they came back together and they redeemed each other. Oh, like even before that, they didn't like each other, they hated each other, and then they became friends. And then, fast forward, and you make them interesting by making them really cool too. Like Glinda became the princess of Oz, right? I think, and then Elphaba became the Wicked Witch of the West. But at their core, they're still best friends. That never changes. And then they go through their whole, you elevate what a fight between friends looks like when you have them be a witch and a princess, and then you bring them through the whole life cycle of it, and then they make amends, and then they drift apart, as some friends do. All the while, it's still about friendship. You're just tacking on these little what if layers onto that same story. So, where was I going with this? There's some what if that came to mind with Toy Story, and it's I'm sure, I don't know, it'll come to me. Anyway, what was I talking about? Buzz and Woody. Oh yeah, so Woody's trying to take back his position of power in Andy's hierarchy of toys, and he devises this plan to get rid of Buzz, but it goes wrong, and he ends up like almost killing Buzz in toy terms, maybe. And then they have this whole sort of side, or act two of the story, where Buzz and Woody really, have an opportunity to get to know each other, because they are thrust into this situation where they eventually have to work together. They get lost, Pizza Planet, and then get picked up by Sid. I'm not going to touch on all the details there. It's a lot to talk about. But then they end up in Sid's room, and Sid is like the antithesis of Andy. That was a really cool thing that I never picked up on before. But it's like it's so obvious, and it's also so simple too, which I really like. They're not making the similarities too deep. It's just, Sid is almost opposite Andy, and Andy is in this loving, calm, comfortable home, and Sid's home is chaotic. You almost never see the parents, you only hear them. It's dark. Andy's house is light. Oh, also, the way that they use lighting in this movie was fantastic. I never noticed it before, but the scene where Woody knocks Buzz out the window with the lamp, and the toys are like confronting Woody, like, "Hey, what's going on here? You betrayed Buzz," or whatever it is that they're saying. This whole scene happens at like dusk, and the sky outside is red, like a bright blood red, and it's like basking Andy's room in this red, ominous aura. It's such a cool tone setter, and accomplished with such low-res animation, low-quality animation, but they're not trying to like dress it up too much with all these flashy, bright, shiny objects. It's just like getting to the core of what elicits feeling, and something about the color red and this ominous shade, this dark shading casts this feeling of ominousness over the scene. So that was really cool. But anyway, yeah, so Sid and Andy are like opposites of each other, and it's here that Buzz learns that he is not who he thought he was, which there were sort of two thoughts that I have about that. The first thought is, it's a really beautiful, almost human story that Buzz is going through, which is why it's relatable to humans, because everyone's gone through a moment when they've sort of realized who they really are. You have this idea of who you are. Unless you've known who you were your whole life, then congratulations. but some people like take time to discover who they are. You know, you have to go through things. You have to live your life, and then you discover who you are. And Buzz believed that he was the real Buzz Lightyear that could, was from space, could fly and whatnot. And then he discovers that he's not, and it like crushes his whole world. And he goes through this whole breakdown, and it ends up leading into, well, it doesn't end up leading into, but it carries over into the scene where Sid straps Buzz to a rocket, and and Buzz has kind of given up on himself. He has no problem getting blown up by a rocket. And it's so ironic that, like, you know, he's finally, I didn't even think about this when I was watching the movie, but he's finally found a rocket. He's been like in search of a spaceship because his spaceship crash landed, and he finally has one, and like it's not at all the feeling that you would expect him to have when he finds what he's been looking for. And I don't know, there's layers to this that I'm probably not articulating. There's something there. I'll just have to dig a little deeper for it. But it's like Buzz rocket, not what he thought it was, actually a device that's gonna, you know, result in his death because it's gonna blow up. Lots of cool story elements going on there. And then a quick detour, the toys, well, okay, not quick detour. Well, yes, quick detour. The toys that Sid experiments on, man, they're you know, it made me think again of the dichotomy between Andy's toys and Sid's toys, and how grotesque and, you know, experimented and chopped up they are, but we still get like humanity out of those toys when we see that, oh, they went through something, and they ended up fixing Buzz instead of cannibalizing him like they thought, like Woody and Buzz thought they were going to do. So yeah, that was really cool. And then back to Buzz and Woody, you know, they finally have a moment where they have to work together to get out of a situation, and so they, you know, Woody is trapped under this milk crate, and then Buzz pushes it out of the way, and they're able to escape together. I'm forgetting a couple key moments between this and like the ending scene, but basically, so Andy and his mother move from the house that's next door, and Buzz and Woody miss the before that even, Buzz is strapped to the rocket, and Sid is about to light the fuse on him, and Woody has to come up with a plan to save Buzz. Also, okay, sorry about that. The camera died. But I think I was saying that, okay, so Buzz is strapped to the rocket, but before all that happened, all of the experimented toys in Sid's bedroom are converging on Buzz, and Woody thinks that they're going to cannibalize him, but they don't. They save him. They fix his arm. And I didn't realize it before, but when Woody thinks Buzz is in danger, he sprints to rescue him without even thinking about it. And I thought that was a cool detail because of all the you know, arrogance that we've seen come out of Woody, and the sassiness and the meanness. When Buzz is in danger, without a second thought, he goes to help him. And so these little like moments where I see their relationship building, it was really cool how the writers took their time with that growth, and it's almost like you don't even notice the little improvements in their relationship, or the moments when they get close. I forgot that they were so mean to each other, because the last movie that I watched was probably Toy Story 4, and by that point, you know, they've already been friends for years, and they're so kind and loyal to each other. But that moment when Woody rushes to save Buzz amidst all of their fighting was a real like raw moment of, oh, the loyalty's starting now, the friendship is starting now. and it was a cool like foreshadow into these guys are gonna be, they're gonna be ride or dies. They're gonna be locked in for the next several movies. But then, so Buzz is strapped to the rocket, and then we have this cool like dive into the lore of toys. We don't get much, but we get little hints and little breadcrumbs. When Woody is planning how they're going to rescue Buzz, he gathers all of Sid's toys around, and he goes, "All right, I got a plan. I think it's gonna work, but we're gonna have to break a few rules." And then we know what happens, where the toys end up confronting Sid and revealing themselves to him. And then I realized, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I don't think this has ever happened again in all of the Toy Story movies. I'll have to rewatch them all to see if there is a moment where the toys reveal themselves to a human. I don't think so. At least not in this manner. Maybe on accident it happens, or maybe like a quick thing, but like this was very deliberate and threatening. And, like there are lines that you don't cross, but we will cross them in this moment because the safety of toys is threatened or whatever. And it made me, all these questions spurred in my head. Who wrote these rules? Where did the toys come from? How does Buzz simultaneously hold the delusion of being Buzz Lightyear and also the sort of instinct to go limp and not question that a human is playing with you, like holding you? How does he hold those two truths in his head? I don't know, but that's the only time that I remember Woody like sort of acknowledging that there is a toy world, and there is some history there that we as the audience don't yet know about. So I'm curious to know what that was, if it's ever going to be addressed in the Toy Story universe. Toy Story 5 is coming out soon, or if it's just going to kind of exist out there, maybe in books or in the writer's explanation. I'm curious about that. That scene was super fascinating to watch because the universe of toys is underexplored, I think, because it focuses on the story of toys and not really like the history, which works better for like a kids movie, I think. The history of toys would be a cool. I think at this point in the series, it would be a cool moment to like have a big reveal about what these toys are, or maybe a series or something. But in any case, so they catch up with the moving van by by lighting the rocket on Buzz's back, and I'm kind of losing steam with things that I remember, but so they they catch up, and then the movie has this nice little conclusion where they're celebrating Christmas, I think it is, and Buzz and Woody are sitting next to each other, and they've made up their friends now. It's a very happy ending, and then we find out that Annie gets it's a puppy. It's not it's not a cliffhanger so much in the sense that it's suggesting that there's going to be a sequel with the dog as the main character or whatever. It's more kind of just like a fun ending. I don't know if they had plans to make a second Toy Story, but I thought that was a cool way to wrap it up and leave it open-ended enough so that they're leaving the door open for something. But if nothing happens, then it's not like you left your audience wondering, oh, what is this huge thing that you just ended the first movie on that we'll never get to know anymore. The writing carried this movie all the way through. I know that there are elements of this movie that I'm missing that really stuck out to me, but clever dialogue. I wish I could remember more lines. Well, I will say this: the dialogue between Buzz and Woody at the gas station, where their two philosophies are clashing. Buzz with his "I know exactly who I am," and Woody with his "You're a threat to who I am. Like, I am the leader. I'm Andy's favorite, and now you're coming along and you're his favorite. How is this possible? Um, that was a really cool scene. I really would. Oh gosh, I wish I could remember. Um, I wish I could remember some of the most important lines of this movie. That's okay. Um, so yeah, this was a great movie, and I'm looking forward to watching the rest of these movies, and really looking forward to being surprised again and entertained by a good story. Um, yep. All right. Good movie, Toy Story.